You have read about the stories of people who won lottery. Almost 96% of the people who win lottery will lose it in like 6 months to 1 year and will be poorer than they ever were, both physically, mentally. The reason is they are not used to handling that much money, and it happened to them without the journey and effort. I was this person where when I look at my work and when I look at my screen, I'll be doing my work in an orgasmic way, by the way. In the sense.
Oh my God, digital marketing. I love digital marketing. Okay, this one's a very fun but also very important podcast. It's a story of teenage entrepreneurship from a middle class background. No financial backing, no business background here, no real kind of boost at the start. Lots of young kids that I meet today often ask me, how do I begin my career? How do I find my passion? How do I get into entrepreneurship? And then you have stories of Vishnu Prasath. He's just a year younger than me. And trust me, back in the mid 2000s, you rarely heard of 13-year-old dropouts or school dropouts who actually start successful businesses. At the age of 16, he was employing 26-year-olds. At the age of 22, he found himself in Silicon Valley, adding value to a business there and eventually selling that business off. And now at the age of 28, he's launching Vegan Way. His story is incredible. When I heard his story, my first instinct was, this needs to be on the podcast. This story should be shared with our audience as well. Enjoy the episode. Be inspired. This is what it takes to build a successful career very early on in life. Vishnu Prasath on The Ranveer Show. Vishnu Prasath, Dev Rajan. That name sounds like a secret spy's name for some reason. How are you, brother?
Doing great. How are you doing, Ranveer? Great to be here.
Likewise. It's rare that you meet a serial entrepreneur who's just 27 years old. And it's rare that you meet people who've kind of established their own careers at 27. You dropped out of school, dude. What's the deal with that? You dropped out in what? 7th standard? 8th standard?
I dropped out after 10th standard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I started freelancing when I was at my 8th grade. And for the first 2 years, it was largely figuring out things, failing at almost all of the things that I did. The moment I got to 10th grade, got the hang of it, started earning some income. I mean, it was in dollars, so it was a lot of money in rupees back then.
Wait, what's the story? Like, where were you? What was going on in your head?
I was in Coimbatore, coming from a very middle class family. Dad worked for a BSNL. We got a subsidized internet connection at home. Used to spend like an hour a day with computers. So one fine day, I went to Google and searched about iPhone. That was like the big thing happening in 2007-8. Then I got exposed to multiple blogs, reviews and whatnot. So that took me on the path of setting up my own blog and getting my own domain registered, dvishnu.com. I actually was frustrated with my email address, which was like d_Vishnu_Prasad123@yahoo.com. That's what I got. So I got my own domain name and I was so happy. I put all my savings into getting that domain. And I started blogging and I figured out getafreelancer.com, where there were projects for content writing, digital marketing, and bid on a few projects. Learned along the way.
You made your first salary through like freelancing.
Yes.
Basically. Wow.
When I was 13.
94 born. Okay.
Yes.
So when you were 13, it's 2007, I was in 9th standard then. I was just thinking of the girl I wanted to date. I was just thinking of, like, at the most conscientious thing I was thinking of was my studies. And here you are like making money from freelance gigs. In 2007, it's not every day that you hear about a kid doing it. Nowadays, kids do it, but
of course.
Honestly, there must have been something off in your head to do this, bro. Like, in a very respectful way.
Actually, I was looking at my cousins and my family members. Typically, everybody would go to the US to do the masters and works for a FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, one of these top companies, Microsoft. And the only aim as a kid was to get into one of the top tier institutes in the country and then go to the US to do masters. Then I was looking at all of them studying for like, until 25 years of age, and I was 12 or 13 by then. I was like, if I do this, I would be stuck for 13 more years. And I hate doing this physics, chemistry, mathematics. So I was like, what is the other way around? At the end of the day, everybody are respecting those who are wealthy and who accomplished and who made something for themselves. So let's work on building our competencies in some area, right?
Did you know coding back then?
No
Not at all.
coding at all.
This was just like street smarts, basically.
Yes. So looking at other blogs that reviews, let's say antivirus softwares, I made my own antivirus review website and I tried to rank it on the top spots of Google. So it took 2-3 years of figuring out. Nothing happened on day one. I used to be disappointed and go to my mom and tell, like, Mom, I thought this will make me $1,000. Somebody told they will give me $1,000. That time it was 39 rupees per dollar, 39,000 rupees. I lost it. And my mom was like, Vishnu, it's all okay. You're anyway studying. You will go to engineering and then you will do your masters. Then you will get a great job. You will make lakhs of rupees. Be happy. And everybody used to take me for like, okay, he's playing some games. And then, as long as he scores good marks in the school, once he gets to the 10th and 12th grade, we'll properly grind him. Until then, let's leave him alone. Let him do his own thing. I did all kinds of things, right? Like I was working for 16 hours, talking to all kinds of people, failing at several things, and then pulling off a few things. And being in India and having been located in Coimbatore also added to the advantage. We had a lot of educated talent pool coming in as freshers. And the whole industry was just evolving.
And then there's a 16-year-old kid in Coimbatore who's cracked the system.
I would tell people I'm 25 or 30. Otherwise, they wouldn't give me the projects.
Yeah, that's the question I have. Did your age work against you? Because when Viraj and myself were starting Monk Entertainment, just being 22 was working against us so much. Like we had to really convince people to give us opportunities.
It worked against me in two ways, but it was also an added advantage for me, right? Like I see what happened to me as my blessing and privilege. Because,
what happened to you?
You see, I got a super early start. Right. And I didn't have the pressure to perform. When somebody starts in their entrepreneurial journey at 23, 24, there is so much pressure to perform. Yeah. Everybody are like, if you go for a job, there is an opportunity cost that they tie and tag to your profile. If you graduate from IIT and if you choose entrepreneurship, you're always like, you would have otherwise earned 30 lakhs per annum working for X company and 50 lakhs in equity working for Y company. Why is it that you are pursuing your startup? What if it fails? So that pressure was not there. I was at school. I was expected to score 90-95% marks, which I would anyways do, right? And before I dropped out of school itself, I built that momentum. I got that team of 15-20 people. I've got that early traction of making few thousands of dollars every month, which was very strong validation, right? And before I chose to completely drop out of education, formal education, and choose my path of entrepreneurship and pursue what I wanted to. I already had a 40-50 member business. We were making a few crores. So I didn't perform or get into something with too much pressure to perform.
I do believe that the teenagers of today are way smarter than what we were. I'm not talking about you. I discount you from that general
You can definitely count me. I was not a street mart child. I wouldn't have gone to IITs at all.
Listen, man, we're almost the same age. And I know what kind of mindset was in teenagers' minds back then. I went to one of the best schools in the country and not one single kid thought the way you were thinking back then. To be able to start your own thing, to not know what entrepreneurship is while doing it, to be able to lead 25-year-olds. Like, you're what, 27 now?
Yes. I turned 28 recently. So
your first employees are probably parents at this stage.
Yeah.
Have any of them stuck around?
I am still in touch with most of them. But because I sold the first business that I have built, most of them went to that entity which acquired my company.
Wow.
But a lot of them are now at super well off. So I've hired people from call centers and now they're making 5-6 lakhs a month.
In a very positive way, I'm saying this as a compliment, there's something very off about you. Like you're a psycho, man. No. But there's something very admirable about you.
Let me share with you the story on how I got the first sales gig done, right? Like, see, I've always been this guy where I'll roll up my sleeves. I'm like, okay, screw it, let's do it. But then I've fallen flat on my face most of the times and then realized it's okay to fall flat on your face to start with in any part of the journey. See, as a kid, as a baby, it takes 1 year to stand up and start walking. And if you attribute that whole 1 year as it's so difficult to walk, it's actually not so difficult to walk. Until you learn how to walk, it's so difficult. Once you have learned it, it happens with ease and comfort, right? So that's the same thing. Until you learn something new, you have to be out of the comfort zone. I wouldn't even call that as a comfort zone, because in today's world, entrepreneurs attribute going out of the comfort zone to too much stress and too much hardships and pain and suffering, right? So one need not suffer in their journey towards building something massive. At the end of the day, everybody are working to make a difference and make an impact in the world that they live and earn a name for themselves. So it is in the journey. No matter how far you are or anybody is in the journey, that journey is what that matters, and not, there is no end goal. We've just discussed about, sheikhs comparing Elon Musk and, Ambani looking up at Adani and Adani looking up at Ambani. So there is no stopping, right? And one has to realize the pleasantness, the joy, and the calling in the journey that they are undertaking. And if I repeatedly say, I am kind, I am compassionate, I am blessed, and my work is my worship, and get started with my work. And I repeat it 30 times until it really gets into my head, my body, and every cell within my body. And I get to the work.
Dude, but on what basis did a top founder hire you? Like, why did he
We had a digital marketing company, and we were already driving almost 10% of his sales.
Of his sales?
Yeah, of his sales.
One key feature here is that Americans respect results.
Yeah,
if you can deliver results for them,
correct,
they will respect you.
Absolutely.
And then they'll help you grow.
And I was already working for him for a year. During the period when my visa was rejected, we were still working for them, but I was not in the leadership team or anything. We were working in an agency, a client relationship. And the moment I landed in the US, we built a very good rapport. He was an entrepreneur who moved from Austria to the US and set up the business. And he has also scaled up from the scratch and built the business that he did. And he had seen a lot of value that I could bring forth to the table. So immediately he was like, you join me full-time on board. And I would like to take you to Las Vegas. Because
why Vishnu?
He was like, if he takes me to the Las Vegas, he will be able to get a better deal.
Okay, fair.
Right? So, and I was a teetotaler. He underestimated my resistance, right? So
it's hold on. Let's take a break from this story. When we do these meet and greets all over the country, we get a lot of questions about how do you kind of keep yourself focused and on the grind while you're a teenager. Now, the question I'm going to pose to you might seem a little rude and explicit, but that's not the literal way in which I wish to ask it. Now, while you're building all these businesses, you didn't feel horny? Like,
see, of course you would feel horny as a teenager and you have your urges, right? I would split the teenage into 3 parts. Between my 13 to 15, 16, until when I was still at school. So the school I went to, girls and boys wouldn't talk to each other. So no matter how horny you are kept aside and apart, right? And secondly, the family I was born and brought up, it's okay, if you are talking to a girl at this age, we abandon you.
Abandon?
Yeah. So nobody would respect you, and you're gonna get it big time back at home once they come to know. So there is always this fear factor that restricts you to go out and talk to a girl and then make friends and then, take it forward, right? So now things have changed. Kids do have smartphones and they can do things without the knowledge of parents. Back then it used to be like landline. And my dad worked for BSNL. He could listen to all the calls that I make to anybody, any which face. So it was difficult.
But how did you not get distracted by it? Like, here you're building a business, speaking to 25-year-olds. And I am sure you were also hot property amongst girls at that age, dude.
Most people didn't know, right? What I was doing.
Okay.
So they wouldn't know. And at that time, they were like, see, if I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, obviously they didn't know. And it's not in any degradatory sense or anything like that. They were doing their own thing, and for them scoring the top marks and then getting to an institute was everything academically. And otherwise listening to the parents, it was like a average school where most middle class children came, right? It was not a hi-fi school where rich kids were sent to. So that kept me a little bit off the distractions. And secondly, I should admit and say my computer and my laptop was in the living room in the house that I was born and brought up. And you could see my computer and my laptop and also the TV from the street. People would be walking outside my house in the street. They could see my computer, my laptop, and the television screen that's running. You couldn't do anything.
But not at 3 a.m. I'm kidding.
At 3 a.m., my mom is sleeping in the living room.
Okay, fine, fair.
So it was not as comfortable as kids do have the smartphones where you have unlimited internet connection. So we had 400 MB of data for a whole month. Okay, and I had to use it wisely. And I was this person where when I look at my work and when I look at my screen, I'll be doing my work in an orgasmic way, by the way. In the sense. Oh
my God, digital marketing. I love digital marketing.
so immersed and involved. Even if my mom shouts, Vishnu, have your dinner, I wouldn't hear anything. So you have these teenagers playing PlayStation games where they wouldn't hear a word or a thing that happens outside. My dad would be watching something in the television. My sister would be reading something out loud. That's how she's used to learning. And my mom would be cooking some food. In the street, some action will be happening, vehicles honking. I'll not hear anything. I'll be like completely noise cancelled, image cancelled, only focus on the screen. So I built that kind of attentiveness. And when you're super attentive and immersed, you naturally enjoy something. When we were having a conversation, we were like, you had dogs and that would make you super lively, and now plants are a replacement for you, right? So being super immersed in the present moment, in what you do at that point in time, and being always in the present means you're always blissful. If I am talking to you, I am in this present moment and not thinking about the past or the future or what audience who are listening to this podcast will be thinking or what my mom and dad will be thinking when I answer this. Then it will be a screwed being inside. Maybe I could provide all of these answers, but within I'm nervous, within I'm angry, within I'm anxious, and I'm always computing and comparing. So generally I don't, right? And why is it that dogs are, people love dogs so much? You are in the present moment when dogs are around. And you are free from the past and the future. If you're free from the past and the future, where there is worry, where there is fear. I was super immersed at the work, so I enjoyed it quite a bit, and no access to opportunity to get distracted. Royalty of going around, having secret spots, having a large enough house where I had my own bedroom. So I would sleep in the floor along with my mom in the same living room, and we had 2 bedrooms where in one my grandparents were hanging around and in another my mom and dad or my sister would be. So I would sleep in the living room working until 1-2 a.m. and then just fall asleep there.
Girls never crossed your head?
Of course they cross my head. But then they just come here and go like this. That's it.
You're like, oh, hot girl, okay, back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
but as a teenager, it used to be, oh, hot girl, I love you. I want to think of you. At least for me, it was like that. Like, I remember I used to have a crush on Rachel from Friends. You've seen Friends?
The series, the American series.
She was my first woman, I think, that I felt something for, if you know what I mean. And if you know what I mean.
Of course, I know what you mean.
God, dude. And there are some episodes where she looked so hot, basically, that I remember just almost just being lost in that thought. I was thinking about her so much. And I was lying down on my bed and just screaming because I hadn't discovered certain joys of life back then. I didn't know what to do with that. This is when I was 12 years old. Okay. And there you are, Mr. Vishnu, thinking of how to multiply revenues at the same
and time then it happened to be at a point where I couldn't afford to get distracted. So when I was at the US is the place I was truly independent. No mom, no dad, no relatives, no restriction, good smartphone, Western life.
Which is why I have to ask you about Las Vegas. We stopped it right at Vegas.
Exactly.
What happened in Vegas?
We saw everything that people see in Las Vegas. Okay. But I had that self-restraint not to get distracted and deviated because I had already built up on something and my aspirations were too deeply ingrained in me that my ambitions, my aim And what I had to and wanted to accomplish always came at first.
And you were 16.
18.
Okay.
I mean, I
Still,
was
dude, that's
given
too
the-
young, man. Like,
And then the guy who happened to meet me also was very kind, and he understood me. And then we started going to Starbucks to have conversations. And always we would think, okay, let's get a sheet of paper or our laptop to go have the conversation, but we would forget it. We'd get that. I vividly remember the conversations I've had with Fatih. He was the founder of the company. We'd go to Starbucks, we'd get the brown tissue paper and then ask a pen from the guy who's serving in the counter and then start writing. And we'll get 15 tissue papers, write all the ideas. And we've done that probably 20 or 30 times back and forth, which led to many projects that we have executed. And then I moved to the US. I spent 2 years. We moved from Columbus, Ohio to San Francisco. I convinced him that we have to be in the Bay Area to be fancy. And then we moved to the Bay Area. We both really loved it.
wait, what happened to your digital marketing firm in India?
He hired the team. Most of the people started working for his company.
So he paid you money as the founder?
Yes, he paid me money as he actually, we've made an arrangement where I would have some percentage of his company, and I would be paid a salary on top of that to lead things. And I had milestone based rewards. So I've always been this person where I have never enjoyed getting paid just like that. In the sense that if somebody would call me and say they'll pay me a couple of $1 million, I'd be like, why are you paying me a couple of millions of dollars? Right? Like,
I want to work for it. I want to earn it, man.
Yeah.
That's a warrior energy.
Yeah.
I feel it. Go on.
And at the time, this guy made total sense when he said, like, he made all of these things, and I said, like, I want this much money. This is like, you have to show this much impact. You have to make $10 million to earn $2 million for yourself. I was like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. Now I'll make a plan to do it. Right?
These are your distractions. But go on.
So and then I liked that. And then I was like, okay, I will stand upside down and make it happen so that I'm a millionaire. And being a millionaire was a big thing, being an 18-year-old, right?
I think the lesson here to make the conversation a little more serious is that when you give a horse a pole to run towards, the horse runs faster.
Absolutely. And always when you expect something without working for it, even if it happens, it will not stay for long. You have read about the stories of people who won lottery. Almost 96% of the people who win lottery, actually in some countries 99% of them will lose it in like 6 months to 1 year and will be poorer than they ever were, both physically, mentally. The reason is they are not used to handling that much money, and it happened to them without the journey and effort.
Yeah, fair. You know that the whole thing about if you rise up really fast in life, it's likely that you can fall down really fast.
Absolutely.
We see it with athletes, we see it with actors, we see it even with social media creators now. If you have a very fast rise, there are chances that you can have a very fast fall as well.
Absolutely. And for me, value creation was the central theme back then. I was born and brought up with this ideology that I should add the maximum value to everyone I work with professionally. And if I keep adding the maximum value, anything else does not matter. Whether I speak good English, whether I can make great spreadsheets, whether I am super good at organization or team building or strategy, whatever. Like if I work with you, if I make you $10 million, I know if I come to you and ask $2 million, you are gonna have to give it to me. Correct?
Yeah.
If you are a sensible person, you will definitely make the choice of giving it back to me because you would then make a plan to make $100 million with me. So that's what I saw in this entrepreneur that I went and worked with.
What was his name?
Fatih.
Fatih.
Fatih Said.
Okay.
He was a Muslim, born and brought up in Austria, moved to the US. I worked with multiple clients before that, but he was the first one I worked really closely with. In fact, a couple of weeks back, I was at his house in the US. Back from the US only a week ago. Last week, I was at his house actually. So,
you know, I want to highlight something that I've kind of just figured at age 28. I'm going to turn 29 in a week. So this is my last 28-year-old learning, which is a very important business and career lesson. If you want to rise really fast in your career, basically in conversations, especially where you are expected to add value from the other parties, you really try gauging the problem statement, give an opinion on what you think the result should be with actionables also.
Exactly.
In terms of define the problem, then in your words next define what you think should be the solution, and it doesn't stop there. The solution actually ends when you have given actionables to either the person or yourself.
Absolutely.
And if you want to take it one level deeper, execute on those actionables yourself.
Correct. Taking ownership and the responsibility.
Yeah.
See, I have been this guy, and I think if people become this guy where they take responsibility without being asked for, they naturally rise to the top. That's what you see with the accomplished people, even with the stalwarts like Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella. People took responsibility without being asked for, and then naturally rise to the top.
It's the fastest way to get promotions in life. It's the fastest way to rise as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And center your activity and work around value creation, and split down that ultimate value on how you will create that value into actionable steps and how it makes a difference in the lives of people that you serve. And instead of wanting to become a millionaire, billionaire and a decacorn, if I do work on my competency and constantly keep delivering results to every stakeholder, whether it's a customer or a client or a partner or an employee or a shareholder or an investor or an influencer that I work with, naturally I will rise to the top. So if I keep delivering value to every stakeholder and constantly center my activity around delivering value, eventually in due course of time, anyone would rise to the top. I've already breached the $1 million mark at my age of 20 in terms of how much money I've made, which was a lot, right? $1 million for a 20-year-old kid. My whole family wealth was not that much, right? So, and in the US, being in San Francisco was always like everybody are huge and everybody are super smart. You have to run.
Like there's always someone smarter and someone richer than you in every room.
And it was like 95% of the case. When I was in Coimbatore, at least I was like in the top 5%, right? Among those who I spoke to. So you have this sense of, okay, I'm good. I'm scoring here. If you go there, you're not scoring anywhere. You're like probably the last 5% or the last 10% as an entrepreneur living in Silicon Valley with $1 million. No respect, right? So you push yourself too hard. And I broke down then itself because I started working when I was 11, 12. And then 13 is when I started making the money. And it was already like 2021, having $1 million in the bank account, not being able to go to sleep. Got me to the striking realization, I need to fix it. Then that was also the time when our company got acquired by Endurance International. When I got
Fatih's company.
Yeah, Fatih's company got acquired by Endurance International. I was in the leadership team, was instrumental in positioning the business for acquisition. Had worked with the whole leadership team in speaking to potential buyers. I was the head of marketing and strategy in the business, executed like tens of hundreds of projects, managed a large team, and delivered significant value in improving their profitability. So once we sold it, I had the money in the bank account, but I was not in control. Random thoughts, fear, high levels of stress, lack of health, right? I had to fix it. And after 2 months of reading Swami Vivekananda and connecting back to yoga and reaching out to my gurus and understanding the power of breath work, meditation, I went on a trip to Bali.
Hold on, brother. Why did you mention Swami Vivekananda?
Swami Vivekananda, for me, was always somebody I looked up to. From the quotes that I read, like, arise, awake, and stop not until you make it happen, right? So he has gone to the US, made his mark, started ashrams, institutions worldwide.
I'm getting goosebumps as you...
Yeah, within a short period of time that he lived, that also before 120 years. And the level of intellect and the intelligence that was showcased in his speeches, the thought and what he manifested in those days without any resources was phenomenal and magnificent.
Sort of a Nawal Ravikant figure of that time in a more spiritual way.
Yeah, definitely. See, until then, my thought process about spirituality, I was an atheist. Okay. And then I became agnostic. I was like, see, you cannot disprove the existence of God, more Warren Buffett style, right? And then when I read Vivekananda, I was like, oh man, being spiritual does not mean doing nothing. Being spiritual means doing every single thing possible,
To
right?
the best of your capabilities.
Yes, to the best of your capabilities, non-stop. You take any number of people. Then I started reading about Chinmayananda, Sachidananda, Dayananda Saraswati, and any number of gurus who went from here to the west, and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And in the new age, you could take Sri Ravi Shankar and Sadhguru. Any number of people who have made their mark have worked non-stop. In the US, they are heavily recognized. And in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they would go to jails. Even now, they continue to do so in running their programs of yoga for the inmates. And governments, cities, and these prisons have seen 60 to 90% reduction in crime after they would go through this program. Can you believe that? And every state has granted him citizenship, all kinds of honorary awards, this and that and whatnot. Which is why in the US, all of these gurus are greatly respected now, right? I read a lot of them. Then I went on a trip to Bali for self-exploration. And I wanted to take a couple of weeks of break from everything I was doing and look within, understand what was going wrong. And that's when I also quit eating meat. I physically observed in one of the meditation sessions of the day when I had chicken and fish that my body and my stomach was taking more time to process it. And it was adding up to the lethargy and the lack of awareness and focus that I always wanted to remain in, and that state of ease and pleasantness that I wanted to manifest. And I was able to manifest the peace and pleasantness much more easier when I had vegetables and fruits instead of meat.
Sattvic food.
And that's when I decided, let's quit eating meat. And I'm a firm person when I make a choice. So I made the choice that day. Since then, it was in 2015. I also wrote a big Quora article summing up my thoughts and what occurred to me and why I've changed that way. It still is there, read by more than 50,000 people, 100,000 people or whatnot. I do not know. So then I quit eating meat. I told myself, money is not everything. And that realization had already stuck.
Is this the Swami Vivekananda effect?
Yes. Also, to a large extent, money need not be the driving factor of the action that I perform. I keep moving forward and onward and do my best and accept what happens. So like...
One second, bro. Let's dial back a little bit. I'll tell you why. Because everything you're saying comes from spiritual places. Like so many of the books here are spiritual and they say the same things that you're saying right now. Very few books that I have read speak about Swami Vivekananda in detail, which is why I'm constantly nudging you to talk about that topic because I want to learn.
Yes, like, absolutely.
You know me now as a person. We've worked together as well. So correct. I think we know each other to a certain degree at least.
Of course.
What do you think I can gain from reading about and the works of Swami Vivekananda?
See, if you read the letters of Swami Vivekananda, you will understand the tone, the context, and the theme of the conversation he's trying to have with his disciples and people who followed him, right? So he always wanted to create a world and be the solution to the problems that were existing, whether it was illiteracy, whether it was cleanliness, or whether it was spiritual education and advancement of people, which is why he has established so many institutions. I think the Ramakrishna Vidyalaya, which runs across the country with Ramakrishna Mission, runs hundreds of colleges, universities, where almost all of my family members in the previous generation got educated, right? So he saw illiteracy as a major thing that is dooming the Indian population and keeping them under this large blanket where they are covered by taboos and all this imaginary beliefs and poverty and whatnot. So he went on, called the new India to become torchbearers and solve for it. And solving for any problem requires utmost dedication and at the same time relentless action. Keep acting, keep motivating, draw hundreds and thousands of people in your mission to solve, and being untouched by all of that was the one thing that inspired me. Even when they were about to keep his own name for one of the institutes, he said, no, keep my Guruji's name, Ramakrishna Mission. I am not the reason for all that I do. And nor I do want to have any money in my own bank account. So I don't want to handle and own any of the finances. So if you take it from a deeper reality and realization, none of us are going to take anything when we leave the earth. So even if I have $1 billion in my bank account, it is only valid until I am alive.
And even if you have the biggest legacy as a tech entrepreneur.
Correct. So all the knowledge, this beauty, fame, name, wealth, legacy, and all that you create is only valid until you are here. So whether money is in my bank account or somebody else's bank account, if I'm able to perform my duties and do my work in an untouched way and keep moving forward, I could make the maximum impact. Everybody are interested in the part on how I became a millionaire. And nobody is interested in the part on what went through in the 7, 8, 9 years in the journey of becoming a millionaire. Right? Everybody are like, okay, can I also drop out of college? Would I become a millionaire? Would you guide me?
What do you have to say to people like that who want to drop out? That's such a key question in this podcast.
See, if anybody wants to drop out for the joy and their imagination of how life will be after they drop out, I would clearly advise them not to. And I dropped out of school when I already was at level 3 or level 4 in my journey. Right? I already had a team of 20 people. I was making few $1,000s a month in the first entrepreneurial venture that I have set up. So I don't think anybody needs to drop out. People start spending the time they spend in unnecessary activities that instantly gratifies them into pursuing a passion or anything of economic value, and they get to a certain level, then they can think of dropping out, right? And dropping out is not fancy. If I dropped out and failed, nobody would even talk to me, right? I've dropped out, come somewhere somewhat ahead, like from level 3, I've come to level 6. Still, there are maybe 1,000 levels that I have to walk forward. I am trying to quantify this to make a sense among the people who are comprehending, okay, if they drop out of their schools or colleges that they are going to, life will be so great, they can be a successful entrepreneur. It's not the dropping out that makes any difference. It's the time, energy, and continuous relentless progress and value creation that they do over a very long period of time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that takes them to where they are.
That have a certain trajectory with where your life is going, man. We actually had hired a dropout, I think a couple of years ago. Very promising at the start. The way he had submitted his resume was he actually built out an Instagram page about the podcast and fantastic graphics, fantastic work, fantastic dedication, which you would see through the edit, subtitled and all. That time there was no tool for subtitling, so you had to type it out yourself. Just heavy amounts of work. We got in touch with him, interned with us for a while, performed well while interning. I called him. And he said, yeah, I'll come. And I told him that, listen, man, even if you're dropping out, you have to work immensely here. He actually left his house against the will of his family. Came to Bombay, spent time, lived in the office, worked well for 2 months. And then the performance slumped. Like badly slumped. We gave feedback. We were very gentle for very, very long. For 6 months, maybe we were gentle. Come on, dude, work. Come on, let's get better. Arm around the shoulder treatment. I know you've left your house. I know you've dropped out. Let's kind of do something with your career. Prove it to me. I'll give you bigger opportunities if you keep proving yourself. I don't know, man. Something happened in Bombay to this dude. And he's a good guy. I think he had good intent. He was capable. And that's what kind of pissed me off. That if he wasn't capable and he wasn't able to perform, I wouldn't have given a shit. But he was a capable, intelligent kid. Just stopped caring. Because he assumed that now that I've dropped out, I've taken a risk. I've proven myself. I proved myself with my internship and the work assignment that I'd done back then. Just stopped working hard. And that's what people, especially kids of today, fail to understand about dropping out. That once you've dropped out, every day is going to be mentally exactly how you feel in the middle of your exams, when you're already burnt out from studying and you have 2-3 more exams to give in front of you and you're not prepared. Every day is going to be like that.
Correct.
That's the cost of not completing your college degree and not having a vision.
Absolutely. Cost of dropping out means you have to anyways be successful, otherwise you're doomed.
Yeah. So,
and see, in this country, the day and age we live in today, I would agree, education is the sole reason that it has lifted millions and millions of people out of poverty and middle class to a affordable way of life. Okay. So my respect to all the institutions and those people who define frameworks that has educated the country, right? So everybody need not drop out. Everybody can go through their formal education and start a business when they are ready. And whether they are a dropout or not a dropout, the sense of accomplishment in their head is equivalent to I already know everything. I know my shit.
Exactly.
If you have this thing that I already know everything, it's like a bottle filled with water. Can you fill anything more on top of it? The process of feeling like an empty bottle, a big ball of nothing, will keep you moving ahead and forward, and you will continuously learn and you will evolve and you will work on your journey. But the moment you think you've made it, you're gone.
I'll tell you what advantage teenagers of today have over us.
Of course.
They have access to information and access to podcasts like this. Throughout my college life, I was told that I won't be able to make it in the big bad world, and I'll have to go for a higher education. And nothing against higher education, but the good thing I did was that I took actions, I executed just like yourself. The best thing that I did in my entire career was getting mentored and asking the right questions to older experienced people, which is a big reason we started the podcast, so that younger people in the position that you and me were in now have access to pathways.
Correct.
This podcast is too important for young Indians, at least, because they currently living in the same society that we lived in, but with access to podcasts like this.
Of course.
So maybe as the ending note, I'd like for you to just talk to young professionals and teenagers who are kind of lost right now, but are inspired at the end of this episode.
See, for all the young professionals, teenagers, and people who would want to make the mark and do something, just get started and be consistent with the efforts and continue to progress forward by the day, learning something, or either you win or learn and you keep moving forward. Continue to perform your action as an offering and see the results as His grace. One day you will make it happen. And even if you don't make it happen, at the end of the day, you would have given your best, for which you will feel happy and joyful about.
Man, with this episode, I know I'm ending it abruptly, but I'm a strong believer in the fact that let your work speak and let the results speak.
Absolutely.
Whatever we are working on together with Vegan Way, with the protein that we're launching, let the product speak.
Of course.
The world,
let the product speak, and let the ventures and the work that I do speak.
100%, bro.
And now that I'm working on building this house of brands at Super Cluster, so audience can check out the products and the work that I do and give the feedback. Really look forward to learning from you and everyone who are listening to this podcast, and improve myself by the day and do the best that I can.
Yeah. Drop your comments, guys. We're also going to be linking Vishnu's handles down below. We're going to be linking links to the actual products. So go check it out. Entrepreneurs are always open to feedback, especially from you folks. So I want to know what you thought of this podcast as well, this partnership, but this energy that you guys felt during this podcast. I promise you that anything that Vishnu and myself do together, it'll have a form of this energy in it.
Of course. Thank you so much. It's my privilege to be on this podcast, Ranveer.
Likewise,
and thank you for hosting me. Look forward to doing more things together and building for the greater good of the society and the community. Keep inspiring every young Indian and be the torchbearer and the playmaker for many more entrepreneurs like me. And you are in a way a big playmaker for the people who are listening to these podcasts as well.
I hope so, brother. Rooting for you, man. I don't even want to call it a privilege, but it's an honor to have you on the same team.
Thank you.
Crazy. Thank you, bro. So that was the episode with Vishnu Prasath. In the age of Gen Z, probably the most intelligent generation till today, you often don't hear of stories where the power of focus has been at the forefront. I think that Gen Z is the most high potential generation that this planet has seen. But there needs to be reference points of stories like this. Millennial stories that contain the power focus as the central theme. That's what I gained from Vishnu Prasath's story. He enjoys business. He does it with his full force. And that's why he's a successful entrepreneur today. Extremely proud that BeerBiceps is also tying up with Vishnu's company to bring you something very special that you guys will see very soon. Please keep following Vishnu's handles, our handles on social media. Lots of huge updates coming your way as well. That was the episode for today. I often get told to bring more founders on the show, and that's what we're going to do from now on. That entrepreneurship wave has hit India finally, and lots more business stories, lots more inspiration coming your way on the Ranveer show very soon.